Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Knutson with Fairfax County's Department of Transportation, and I want to welcome you to this meeting tonight to discuss the traffic calming plan for Towlston Road. We can begin with introductions, and tonight from the Drainsville District Supervisor's Office, we have Camilla, and from FCDOT, we have Banaz, Grace, Ann, and Nicole. Banaz has a short presentation to run through, and if you all have questions, if we can just save them for after the presentation, we'll try our best to answer any questions or take any comments that you have. So Banaz, if you are ready, you can go ahead and begin the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting, and thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we're here to explain the traffic calming process for Towlston Road. So first, I will go over a couple of items before I begin. Please note that the session is being recorded. Please hold all questions until the end of the presentation, and the instructions for how to ask your question will be provided after the presentation. Tonight, we're here to explain the traffic calming process, provide an opportunity for community feedback, and answering any questions you all might have. So let's begin with what traffic calming is. Traffic calming is the installation of physical devices to reduce vehicle speed. And these devices can be either vertical or horizontal. Vertical devices are driven over, such as speed hump showing up to the left, while you drive around horizontal devices, such as raised median island, showing up to the right of the screen. Both types of devices make the road safer for both drivers and pedestrians. I do want to know that through this process, we are not permitted to install stop signs. Here we have charts and images showing the effects of decreased speed. As speed decreases, visual acuity, field of vision, and depth perception increase. Also, we reduce speed, we come to significant reduction in the number and severity of crashes involving motor vehicles. So if you look at the slide here, we have the map of traffic calming projects throughout the county. There are over 200 projects resulting in more than 500 devices countywide. Every district has devices, and chances that you've driven over one is pretty high. So the upcoming program can be broken up into 5 steps. Step 1 is project initiation. Step 2, plan development. Step 3, community engagement. Step 4, ballot phase. And step 5, which is the final step, is project installation. So as I mentioned earlier, all traffic calming projects are always community initiating. So the process begins with the request from the community to the supervisor's office. Once the request received, we will first complete a basic eligibility review. Next, we will conduct a traffic study. And once it passes both the eligibility and traffic study, the community will then form a task force. There are eligibility requirements that need to be met, and that's it. The street needs to be VDOT maintained road, have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, be functionally classified as local, collector, or arterial, and if it is collector or arterial, it needs to be residential street. There's also traffic study components. Here we have the traffic study results for Towlston Road. For the volume criteria, we need between 500 to 6,000 vehicles in 24 hours, both directions combined. For this project, we had 2,480, so we met the volume criteria. For speed criteria, the 85th percentile of speed needs to be greater than or equal to 35 miles per hour. This means that 15% of vehicles need to be traveling at 35 miles or faster in at least one direction of travel. So the speed that we found was 47 on northbound and 42nd on southbound lane, which means Towlston Road met speed criteria as well. So plan development is the second step. First, we will conduct a site visit in the field in order to develop a draft plan. Once we have the draft plan, we will meet with the task force to get feedback and then amend the plan if necessary. Once the task force is satisfied with the draft plan, homeowners directly adjacent to any proposed measures will need to sign off the placement of the device in order to move on to the next step. Here we have device placement requirements based on the guideline we need, minimum 300 feet between measures and from existing step conditions. We need minimum of 150 feet from intersections, minimum 150 for adequate sight distance with any device, and it has to be fit on the existing roadway. So we have to take into account any driveways, manholes, utilities, and we also count for the grade of the road. So based on those requirements, we were able to draft a plan and propose 2 speed humps and 6 speed tables, as you can see on the map here. And then addresses that are listed here are the ones that signed off because the device is adjacent to their homes. Here we have a graphic of speed hump. So it's going to be 12 feet long and 3 inches in the center. In addition to speed hump, there will be a speed hump sign and the recommended 15-mile-per-hour sign on each side. There will also be white chevrons on each traveling lane. And here we have a graphic of speed table. So it's going to be 22 feet long versus 12 feet long of speed hump and 3 inches in the center. In addition to that, there will be a speed hump sign in the recommended 15-mile-per-hour sign on each side. There will also be white chevrons on each traveling lane. Step 3 is a community meeting, which is where we are here tonight. This is where we present the plan for the community to obtain feedback. Based on the feedback, the task force will decide whether to amend the plan or proceed to next phase. If the task force decides to move forward, we can move forward to ballot phase. So on ballot phase, each household in the ballot area will receive 1 vote. They will need to send it directly to the district supervisor's office. The ballot period will be open for a minimum of 3 weeks, and supervisor's office will tally the votes and notify task force of the result. Here you can see an example of the ballot. The proposed devices will be listed on the ballot, and the community will be voting for the entire plan. Here, the task force is responsible for distributing the valid ballot packages to everyone in the ballot area. There are 3 ways to return your ballot by the deadline. One way is that you can mail the ballot. You can also hand deliver to the supervisor's office, or you can email it to the supervisor's office. Please do not return your ballot to the task force, and please use one of the methods listed above. Here we have the ballot area map for Towlston Road. So there are 260 ballots, and in order for the proposed plan to move forward, we will need greater than 50% of all households to vote in favor. And so we will need 131 yes votes. So if we get the required number of yes votes, we can move on to step 5, project installation, which is the final step. So traffic calming plan will be presented to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for endorsement, and then that resolution will be sent to VDOT. FCDOT will work with the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services to schedule installation. And finally, the traffic measures on the plan will be installed. So here is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much. Now we can move on to questions. You have 2 options to ask your questions. You can chat or speak. Once the chat item is activated on Teams, You can use it by typing your questions. And if you want to speak, click on raise your hand icon that you'll be unmuted once it's your turn. If you're on the phone, please push *5 to raise your hand. When it's your turn, the host will call on you to ask your question. You need to push *6 to unmute, and after you're finished, please push *5 to unraise your hand. Thank you so much.
Okay, starting our Q&A, I see that Ken has his hand raised. I'm going to send you a request to unmute yourself, and you should be able to ask your question.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Hi. First off, thank you all for your time this evening and all your time put towards this effort for our community. So as we've approached this point, especially to Ms. Meza for handling all my emails behind the curtain here back and forth. Thank you. I was hoping you could, one of our recurring questions I was hoping you could address is, can you just talk to the placement of a potential device closer to the area of Trap Road, Trombone Court, and Schubert Court? What was a potential placement? What was not a potential placement, and why that was? I believe it was something in relation to distance to intersections, etc. Over.
Steve, you're muted.
Sorry about that. As it was pointed out in our presentation by Benaz, that we have a certain setback distance from intersections for our vertical devices, for the speed hump or the speed table. We need at least 150 feet from those intersections, and we just didn't quite have it down on that end of the roadway close to where Trap cuts off from Towlston Road. And then we did look at possibly placing what is called a choker, where we kind of narrow the roadway, building out from the right-hand side of the road, but it would have taken away parking from the houses there on the right-hand side as you're going north. And it didn't seem to be something that we got an indication from the task force that you wanted to pursue. So, we had spacing requirements that, precluded the consideration of the speed hump and speed table, and there were parking impacts that made the horizontal devices, I guess, not attractive.
So if I could just correct me if I'm wrong, I'll try to repeat what you said in civilian terms here. Eliminating the potential for using a choker, which was not to anyone's appetite on our side, there was no option for additional speed humps or tables in that general area. Is that correct?
That is correct, just because of the closeness of the intersections.
Understood. Thank you. Over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, and we have written into the chat from D. Stewart. Do you do a follow-up study to understand the effectiveness in other communities that have implemented similar plans? What was the impact on the average speed?
So we do try to go out and collect some follow-up data. We don't necessarily get to every street that we've put in or installed devices on. We would if this particular community requested it. Some communities don't necessarily follow up with the request for follow-up data, and we don't necessarily get, as I said, have the time to get to every installation and do follow-up studies. So most of our follow-up studies have been indicating that the 85th percentile speed is dropping below the qualifying criteria for the program. We're not necessarily getting the speed, the average speed or the 85th percentile speed down to the posted speed limit, but at least we are getting roads so they don't necessarily qualify for the program.
Right now, it's not looking like we have any questions in chat or hands raised. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or type it in chat.
So Banaz, we can go to like the slide that shows the ballot layout, and we can talk a little bit about what the ballot packet would be like that the folks in the ballot area might receive. And so generally, I know that Banaz said that there were 6 speed tables and 2 speed humps being proposed for this particular bit of roadway. It is kind of misleading because it's actually 3 speed table locations and 1 speed hump location, with the division of the roadway with the raised median along the whole length of Towlston Road. It kind of separates the north and southbound directions, and we had some wiggle room as to where we could place those devices going in the different directions. So it does make it seem like there are more devices on the roadway than there really are. So, I mean, you will only, incur at the most 4 devices if you travel the whole length of the road that we're working on in one direction, and then 4 in the other direction. But they will be listed on the ballot. So they're all going to be listed. It's going to be a yes and no on the ballot. You will need to vote yes for the whole thing or no for the whole thing. And we will generally see a cover letter included with the ballot packet, a map indicating the device locations, and then the 2 schematics, the 2 different device types that are going out. So the cover letter will explain a little bit about what the person is receiving and how this project got to this particular point. And then generally it's like a trifold piece of paper with the ballot on one side and the supervisor's office address on the other side. The person just needs to fold it up and tape it back and mail it to the supervisor's office, or they can scan it and then email it to the supervisor's office.
Okay, thank you, Steve. We do have a written in from Paula. What kind of maintenance is performed on the speed humps and speed tables? How often are the markings repainted? Will signs be posted next to each speed hump and table?
So Banaz, if we can go to the schematic and we can show the sign locations for the different devices. So there are signs at each device, and they will be, facing in both directions of traffic. Again, in this case, there's going to be, 1 sign on, the approach on one side of the roadway, and then 1 sign on the other side of the roadway on the approach. So there won't be 1 on the median side, most likely. And then there will be advanced signage as you come onto Towlston Road from Route 7, and then advanced signage down by where Trap Road and Towlston Road split, saying that there are speed humps ahead. As far as maintenance is concerned, they generally receive maintenance whenever the road is repaved. So they will be, generally replaced and reinstalled when the road is repaved. And that would probably be when the chevrons are redone.
Okay, thank you, Steve. We have another written in from D. Stewart. Are there any impacts to snow removal as a result of using these types of devices?
No, so it should not impact snow removal. These devices were developed by VDOT, and snow removal is part of their maintenance responsibility. So they are not going to let us put a device on the roadway that's going to inhibit them from doing that part of their maintenance responsibility. When the devices are installed, the people doing the asphalt work will go out and mill down about an inch on each side of the edge of the device so that they, when they fill it back in, they get a nice tie into the existing road surface. So that transition from the road to the device surface is as smooth as we can get it.
Okay. And we have a written question from Meg. Meg asked, do the speed humps and speed tables have the same signage, speed hump, or is there a different sign for speed tables?
No, so the sign's going to be the same. We can see the kind of the sign kit right in the middle of the schematic for the speed hump, and that sign kit is going to be the same for the speed hump, or the speed hump and the speed table are going to have the same sign kit. So it's going to say speed hump for both locations, and then a 15-mile-an-hour placard below that speed hump sign.
Okay, and we have a written question from, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Muriel. Traffic on this road is affected by concerts, events at Trap National Park. Do we know whether the speed humps and tables would not increase traffic, but back up on those concert dates?
We don't anticipate that it's going to cause any more of a backup. I mean, I know that it does get pretty heavily trafficked at the end of those concerts, but I don't think that having people reduce their speed to 15 miles an hour at these locations is necessarily going to increase that backup any more than it already is.
Okay, and we have a written question from Paula. Between Route 7 and Shoes Drive, there are 3 devices in each direction. Has this been determined as an optimal number of devices to achieve the desired reduction of speed?
I mean, I think it's the best that we can do on this particular bit of roadway. We do have to, as Banaz pointed out during the presentation, take into account the existing geometry of the roadway. So, there were some areas, there's probably one area that seems maybe not quite addressed, but it is, a bit of a curve in that midpoint. And also, it does have a bit of an elevation change, but we do feel that the device locations are pretty well spread across the area that we're looking at, and that is kind of like an important element for this plan to succeed, is that the drivers have a fairly consistent pattern of when they need to slow down at the different device locations. So we feel pretty good about this plan. We're hopeful that we'll see some speed reduction. The recorded speed that we did get for Towlston Road was pretty high for that much traffic. So we're hoping that we can get those 85th percentile speeds down closer to something below 35 miles an hour would be great.
Okay, and we have a written question from Paula. Will our $200 speed limit fine still remain in effect on Towlston?
Yes, they will.
Okay, we have written in from Glenn. Can a speed hump or speed table be added closer to the tot lot between Shoes and Trap Road?
So we did look at that area a bit. There were some constraints with the intersections and also the elevation change in that area. So we weren't really able to, propose anything other than that one location on the south side of the intersection of Shouse and Towlston Road. So, unfortunately, that part of the roadway just was a little bit difficult to, address. But we're hoping that that first device location will help a little bit on that southern traffic as it approaches the tot lot and the pool area, and then also the northern direction traffic as it approaches Shouse. And I think there's a painted crosswalk there at that location. So we're hopeful that that southern device location will help in those two different directions for those two different reasons.
Okay, and Glenn, so sorry, but can you please clarify difficult or impossible to add a speed hump or table near tot lot?
So we were not able to because of the existing geometry of the roadway. So we are not able to propose any other hump or table down on that southern part south of Shouse other than the one location that we show on the map.
And Paula writes in, has the Fairfax County School Board been made aware of the traffic calming plan since they have dozens of buses traveling this road when schools are open? Are they okay with our plan?
We haven't reached out on this particular plan. I know that we do kind of back up to some of their property on the backside. When we did do Trap Road, we did contact the principal there at Trap Elementary, just because we didn't, we wanted their buy-in, make sure we weren't impacting their bus traffic as it pulled in and out. But when we do work on roads that are, close to schools, we don't necessarily reach out to them. We can if the task force feels that it would add some, comfort to the people that are voting on this, but it should not be a concern for them. It should hopefully add safety for their, school children that are, walking to school.
Okay, and we have written in from D. Stewart. Could a digital speed sign or other type of device be added on the northbound side to help with speeds in the area near the tot lot, where you are unable to place any table or hump?
So we don't have like a permanent installation for the electronic speed display signs. The police do have temporary electronic speed display signs that they can place out on Towlston Road if requested. It would probably be left in place for a couple of weeks and then move on to another roadway. And again, did we have another question? I'm sorry.
No, that was just me. Go ahead.
For the ballot process, the task force would need to make the determination if they want to move to the ballot process. We generally would leave it open for, approximately 3 weeks for the size of this ballot area. We can leave it open for a longer period of time if that helps with returns. It can be left open, up to, 4 or 5 weeks if the task force requests that. So that should be something that, we're all aware of as we go through this process.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And Meg writes in via email from Jacqueline Thompson. So I believe she's writing in for another person. Would three-way stops at the intersection be as effective?
So as Bernaz pointed out earlier in this presentation, we're unfortunately or fortunately not able to implement multi-way stops for or through this program. So the use of multi-way stops on roadways isn't necessarily to impact speed. It's not there to reduce speeding on roadways. That's not its purpose. Its purpose is to queue traffic in an intersection and control traffic in an intersection. So when people make the request for multi-way stops or three-way stops or four-way stops or all-way stops for that purpose, generally it's not something that VDOT is interested in doing. But you can, if you wish, if you have an intersection that you are concerned about and you want to see it change from, the current stop condition to, a multi-way stop condition, you can make that request to VDOT directly.
Okay, and we have written in from Glenn. Can the video of this meeting be made available to South Neighborhood?
Nicole, do you want to answer that question?
So,
I mean,
currently
go
we are
ahead.
trying to work on that. Unfortunately, we've had a little hiccups with using Microsoft Teams and letting us share it outside of the people that have registered for this meeting. So once we get that taken care of, we can certainly share it, but it might take some time. We do have a copy of the presentation that we can send out to the neighborhood so that at least they'll have a copy of the presentation. And I believe we have access to the transcript of the meeting. So if they want to read through the transcript, they're welcome to, but unfortunately, as far as the recording goes, we're still having some technical difficulties. Okay, so we have Paula writes in, how does our community go about requesting the follow-up on the plan in terms of recording average speeds once the speed devices are in place? How soon after the installation could a follow-up study be performed?
So generally, I mean, you could make that request through the supervisor's office. We would generally want to see the devices left in place a minimum of 6 months before we go back out and collect data, just so any change in driver habit, traffic patterns, things like that have had a chance to take effect. So we're generally not going to go out and count prior to that 6-month time frame after installation.
Okay, and Glenn writes in, I am president of the HOA. It would be helpful if we could figure out how to share the video. Thanks. And you're welcome. We will definitely work on that. Okay, and then we have Muriel writes in, there are many foot traffic at the intersection of South Drive and Towlston Road during school days, drop-off and pickup times. We're very grateful for the officers directing traffic at the stop, but there is a general shortage of people these days. If we are at a critical time short of officers, is it possible to use traffic light at that intersection just in case? If this traffic light discussion is outside of the meeting scope on speed humps, how could we discuss as a community on such possibilities?
So, I mean, if you're referring to a traffic signal at Shouse and Towlston, that would be something that you would need to direct towards VDOT. You can make that request directly to VDOT yourself. The community can. You can reach out to Camilla at the supervisor's office, and perhaps she can help, coordinate and communicate with VDOT on such that type of request. I will say, I don't see, much of a possibility of Shouse and Towlston receiving a traffic signal. It just seems like an unlikely location, but you can always make the request. And so I also wanted to follow back up with Glenn. As Nicole did point out, we did share the slide deck with the supervisor's office. So you will have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that you can send out. And if folks receive the PowerPoint presentation and do have questions, there's a way to contact us within that PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Benas. So that's up on the screen right now. We do have an email address for our department, and it is dotinfo@fairfaxcounty.gov. Just put in the subject line traffic, Towlston Road traffic calming plan, or Towlston Road traffic calming. And you can also call us at 703-877-5600 and ask to talk to somebody about the Towlston Road traffic calming project. You can also reach out to the Drainsville District Supervisor's Office. Their email is also up on the screen. That would be drainsville@fairfaxcounty.gov. And again, use Towlston Road traffic calming in the subject line, and then that should find its way probably to Camilla, and she would be able to help formulate a response to any questions that you might have. You can also call the Drainsville office at 703-356-0551. And then again, just ask to talk to somebody about the Towlston Road traffic calming project.
Okay, we have written in from Merrill. Thank you for sharing the process and your thought on that signal, Mr. Knudsen, and everyone from FCDOT working on this. Very grateful for our Shouse board for keeping our community informed on these important matters. And you are very welcome. And Glenn writes in, thanks to FCDOT for taking the time to brief us tonight, and you are welcome.
And so after this meeting, I would think the task force might want to reconvene and determine if they do want to go to the ballot process. And if they do, we will supply some templates for that ballot. They would just need to make some edits and send it back to us. And then also with the cover letter, we would then send out a list of addresses in the ballot area that would need to receive the ballot. And then that ballot, again, is returned to the supervisor's office. It does need to be returned directly to the supervisor's office by the person casting the vote. And we can't have the task force going around and collecting those ballots.
Hi, we will do just that. We thank you for your time this evening and all your valuable feedback. We will be in touch with Ms. Meza as we've been throughout the process. And again, thank you everyone who involved in this for getting us this far. Over.
Oh, you're welcome. And Camilla, do you have anything that you would like to add? I know we've mentioned your name a few times.
Yes,
I just
hi.
want to be sure.
Yes, hi everyone. I apologize. I don't have my camera on. It appears to be broken, but I just want to say that at the supervisor's office, if you do have any follow-up questions, please let us know. You can always reach me directly. And as Steve said, if you call or email, your email is going to be routed to me anyway. So I will get back to you, and we'll make sure to share the presentation, and if it becomes available, the video as well. But if you have any other questions or requests, feel free to reach out to us. I'll put my email in the chat as well.
All right, thank you very much, Camilla. And if we don't have any more questions, is there one?
Yes. So we do have from Glenn. Does the list for the ballot include everyone in South Village? Others, what's the criteria for being all on the list?
So we don't have the list generated yet, but it will be the area that's in, or the list will be generated from the parcels that are shaded on the ballot map. Banaz, if you can pull that map back up really quickly. I'm not positive if it's the whole South Village HOA, but it does seem to be pretty close to it. It is fairly significant. We're basically just trying to capture everybody that has to use this section of Towlston Road or use Towlston Road as their main access to their homes. So, that pretty much includes, I think, most of South Village, but I can't say. We don't necessarily use HOA boundaries when we draw these ballot maps. But again, we will, extract those addresses in the ballot area and send the list to the task force, and they'll know how to distribute the ballots.
Glenn Wrighton seems like it includes everyone in South except perhaps 2 homes on Tuba. Okay, and we have in from D. Stewart, and there are several included that are part of Towlston Meadows HOA. And Glenn says, thanks, I think we can probably wrap it up. And we also have written in from Anne. It looks like there are a few on Clavis pipe, stem included too. Or claves, sorry, claves.
Claves, I believe it's claves. Okay, I guess that pretty much covers everything that we had to present. As we said, we do have contact information, and the PowerPoint presentation is available for others to view if requested. So I think that might be it for tonight, and everybody be safe and have a good evening.
Have a good night, everyone.